One of the sales situations that we routinely find ourselves in is team selling situations where there's more than one of us from a company in front of a customer, or there could be 3 or 4 of us. This is routine for many of us and many companies that we come across. So think about that for a second. That changes the game. One of the obvious things to think about is having another person with you in a sales situation adds complexity. We often think that we can relax. I think, well, I've got Susan, this subject matter expert with me on my team, and we're going into this customer. I can relax a little bit because before Susan, I had to do all this stuff myself. The non-obvious thing is it actually gets more complex and harder on you in a team selling situation than easier. And I think we often make that mistake. We assume, oh gosh, I can relax a little bit. I've got 1 or 2 or 3 teammates with me, and it actually becomes more complex. We've created a framework that we like to refer to as team selling for impact. And I want to share with you just a few thoughts about that, and we're going to be doing some other videos on different component parts of the framework because it has a lot of moving parts. So the first thing to think about in team selling for impact is it has 3 phases: preparation, execution, and follow-through. And we'll talk about preparation and follow-through in some different videos. I want to focus for a moment on execution. Think about this. We often ask people in sales situations where there are multiple people going in to think about 2 distinct roles and 2 roles only. Even if you have 6 people, which you probably shouldn't, but 6 people in the meeting, there are 2 distinct roles. That of the process leader and that of the prospective leader. And just quickly, the process leader is the person who runs the show, what Hollywood would call the showrunner. Think about it this way. That's the left to right person, the west to east person, getting the job done in the meeting, opening the meeting, pivoting through the meeting to make sure you get to all the subjects covered, and then closing the meeting and running the follow-through. That's the process leader. He or she gets it done. The perspective leader is the north-south person. This is the person who adds context, color, shape to the meeting. The subject matter expert is often the perspective leader. And even if you have 2 or more of those people, they still live in that perspective leader role. You're the showrunner, or someone else is the showrunner, and you're the perspective leader. And one of the things we know that does, when you prepare and then you roll into a team selling sales situation, what it allows you to do is stay in your swim lane. That's the metaphor. You stay in your lane, and you only do what you need to do. Think about the impact on the customer when he or she walks out of a meeting where a team has been an absolute solid team. I've done my role, Susan has done her role, the separation has been clean, the handoffs have been good. That leaves a completely different feeling in the room, and oh my gosh, is that power and influence. That accrues to you. Because that person, anybody else meeting with that customer today or this week, will seem undisciplined compared to you. So a couple other thoughts about this. So perspective leader and process leader. And now let's talk about some of the things we call rules for engagement. I'm going to just highlight 2. Introductions should be endorsements, not just introductions. Let me make sense of this. I come into this meeting with Susan, my subject matter expert. I'm Craig, the process leader, the account person responsible for the account. And it gets to that point in the meeting, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 10 minutes in, where I introduce Susan. And we always say, an introduction of a teammate should be an endorsement, not just an introduction. Here's what a normal introduction looks like, an average introduction. Well, Justin, I'm delighted to have my colleague Susan here. As you know, Susan is a subject matter expert. She's going to be talking about our solution. Susan, over to you. That's an average introduction. Introductions should be endorsements. There should be a reason stated that I brought Susan to this meeting. I should be joyous. I should be excited about this. Here's an endorsement. Justin, as you know, Susan is a subject matter expert, and I'm delighted to have her in this meeting because she's going to put some color and shape around our solution. Now, Justin, a couple things you should know about Susan. Every single time she works with a customer, they always say 2 words to describe her. She's incredibly responsive and incredibly insightful. I'm delighted to have her along. Susan, over to you. That subtle difference is an endorsement. It leaves a feeling in a room, and it gets that person connected, even unconsciously, to you as a salesperson and to your teammate, and we look like a cohesive team and people that want to be together. That's a hugely different feeling, and that benefit accrues to you when you walk out of that meeting. Last thing we'll talk about is what I like to call no piling on, and you already know what I mean. When you get more than one person in a room, bad things start to happen. Why? Because you have 2 smart people or 4 smart people in a room, and smart people, what do we want to do? We want to share our smarts. And so what no piling on means is if I've said something, or if Susan, my colleague, has said something, even if she doesn't say it exactly how I would say it, it's been said, let it go. This is a mistake that I routinely make because I'm excited and I want to share what I'm thinking. And my colleague Susan will say something and I will pile on. I'll say, oh yeah, and Justin, what's really interesting about that, and I'll say something. You don't need to do that. It adds fat to a meeting. It doesn't add muscle. What you want to do by the no piling on rule is just keep it lean, use the power of silence, because if you're not saying stuff over and over, you're leveraging silence, and that is powerful. So think about these three things as you walk away from this notion of team selling for impact. There are two distinct roles, no matter how many people you have: process leader, prospective leader. When you introduce someone, endorse them and don't pile on. Those are the rules of team selling for impact.